Good. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Rowdy.com Big Three, where we talk NASCAR with famous NASCAR reporters like Jeff Gluck from SB Nation. No, I'm talking about you.
Oh. I'm not famous.
Well, you're famous enough for us here at Rowdy.com. And let me tell you something, Jeff. It is Wednesday, and that means, I think you've done this with us before, the quote edition of the Rowdy.com Big Three. We pull some quotes from our daily podcast, we play them, and then we get experts like you to tell us what it all means.
Yeah.
So can you do that for us?
Well, it's nice because you already picked out the quotes. I didn't have to do any work.
Exactly. You just have to regale us with your wisdom.
Yeah.
Quote number one comes from the NASCAR teleconference yesterday with Clint Bowyer. Good choice for the Richmond race. He's pretty good at Richmond, but he was talking about how competitive the Cup Series is these days. Take a listen.
Ever since we went to this car, it has just became more and more and more competitive, almost by the week. Obviously, one would say Jimmy Johnson's won the last 5. It can't be that competitive. It's every year it's gotten harder and harder for him to win.
So he brings up an interesting point.
Yeah.
Very, very competitive seeming when you look at the races, especially this year. And yet, Jimmy Johnson wins 5 titles in a row. Can you say it's the most competitive era when a guy wins 5 titles in a row?
Well, I think it's probably the most competitive era for sure. I don't know if it's any more competitive than it was like last year or 2 years ago, though. I mean, is it really? I know that's what he said, but is it really that much different than 2 or 3 years ago? Even I mean, the new car. Let's say the first year of the new car was probably a couple teams hit on it. And, maybe the second year, a couple more teams hit on it.
Right.
I'm sure. Everybody's pretty much on it now, but I mean, I think it's been that way for 3 years. I don't know if it's just any better than before.
But overall, you look at Gibbs and Hendrick and Roush and RCR, and you feel like they've all got a guy or multiple guys that could win a championship. But when it's that close, sometimes the guy with a little bit of an edge seems to always win. Well, do you think Jimmy's going to win again? Because I think it's over.
What?
I do.
How can you say that?
I'm just trying to time the market.
Haven't you seen this movie before?
But you think he's going to win it again?
Because I've been proven wrong by picking against him so many times. It's like sticking your finger in the electrical socket or whatever,
Or touching the hot iron.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Burned.
I have, and I'm going to keep picking him until he loses. Why would I not? I mean, it's just logic. It's common sense, I guess.
Speaking of a guy that has the talent to beat Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, definitely one of those guys with the talent. But, you got to have talent, car control and all that, but you got to have a good brain.
I mean, when it gets hot and slick in the summertime and you're sweating and you get more frustrated you're not going forward, or you're kind of stuck, or you're running 15th somewhere, those are the days that, that savvy really needs to show. Versus the days that you're just running up front, running in the top 5, it's a little easier.
So it's a question we can ask from time to time. Is the new Kyle Busch here? Is he going to be smart enough to not give away those points on days when maybe the car is not so good? Have you seen anything this year that causes you to think that?
Well, I mean, I would say no. I mean, Kyle says this. If you
from
go back
time to time,
yes, he's said this before. He knows what it takes, probably. He knows that you can't lose your cool in the chase if you have a 15th place car, and you can't have these meltdowns, and you have to stay in it and just get whatever points you can.
Right.
I think he knows that that's how you do it, but that doesn't mean he can do it or pull it off, and he has not yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So if you're going to ask somebody, whatever the question was, what is it going to take to win a championship, and is keeping your cool, you're asking Kyle, what does he know about it, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, if he was sitting right here, I'm pretty sure he would say, look, I know what I probably have to do, but I haven't been able to pull it off yet. I mean, I think he'd admit that. He's trying to.
He more or less did admit that, saying the proof is in the pudding for me when we get to the summer months, when it's hot and when we do have frustrating days. Will I be able to keep my cool? I'd say at least he's thinking about it in pretty much the exact right way, that is the issue for him.
It all comes down to the chase. I mean, it's not even the summer months.
Right.
It's the chase.
It's the chase.
Well, it's just wait and see for me.
Wait and see. All right. Wait and see could be the theme for a guy like, say, David Ragan. Been a lot of talk about maybe this being a make-or-break year for him. He's had some nice runs. Could have won the Daytona 500, which would have been a nice thing to be able to do for him without that penalty. Here's Trevor Bayne, because there's been a lot of rumors about Trevor maybe being the guy to take over the 6 car next season.
I go where Zach says, but David's been doing awesome this year. I don't know where that talk comes from, or if it's fans or if it's media or what, but looking at David's runs, I mean, he's been really fast this year, so, there's definitely been no talk of that around our area.
So Trevor says David's been running awesome, and he doesn't know where all these rumors come from. Where do they come from, Jeff Gluck?
Well, I think, obviously I think Trevor's being a polite young man and being a good teammate. Well, I mean, what's he supposed to say in that situation, right? I mean, that's exactly what you would probably want somebody to say.
Yep.
Will David Ragan be out? I don't know. I think it's too early a little bit still to tell. I mean, what if we had 8 races so far?
8
Something
races.
like that. I mean, you even look at a Richmond. David Ragan ran, 3rd there, I think,
he did.
in the chase a few years ago. So I think he's capable. Maybe if you just give him more of a chance, he's going to do it. Roush has been down the last few years.
Yep.
I'm not saying that, Roush that David Ragan is Carl Edwards. We don't know that yet, really.
Right.
But I think it's still too early to just throw in the towel.
So if you look at last year, Roush is down, but they still managed to make the chase. Ragan is just so much further down than his teammates. And I think this year, he's still a step behind. Now, he may not ever be as accomplished as Carl Edwards or Greg Biffle or Matt Kenseth, but he's got to run more at parity with those guys, I think. And that, to me, is what he's got to do. All right, that has been your Rowdy.com Big 3 for today. My thanks to Jeff Gluck.
Thank you.
For joining me here of SB Nation. You can check him out at SBNation.com, and you can check us out at Rowdy.com. We'll be back tomorrow with yet another brilliant video.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.